Because if you start laughing, I'm going to start laughing.
Okay, you're good.
Welcome back to Austin Public Library. I'm sitting here with our special guest today, Teresa Saint.
Hi.
One of the things that makes Teresa special, especially in the library's eyes, is that Teresa is what we call a social media ambassador of the library. The Social Media Ambassadors Program is an online group of library supporters. They help us raise awareness of the library in the community. So shares, retweets, favorites, hearts, likes, reactions. These are the ways we ask our ambassadors to show their support for the library. So if you listening to this podcast right now are interested, please sign up on the library's website. The URL is library.austintexas.gov/ambassador. Now, Teresa, I want you to know that even though the goal of our Social Media Ambassadors program is to raise awareness of the library, it's also the goal to raise the library's awareness of supporters like you. So let's start as far back in the beginning as you are willing to take us. Where are you from?
Okay, well, it's going to be far, far back. I'm actually was born in North Carolina, and then wasn't there long. But I consider myself from Colorado. It's where I went to school, and then lived in San Diego for about the same amount of years, and came to Austin for opportunity, I think, like everybody else. But I came the first time in the first I call gold rush in the late 90s. We were having another boom in Austin, but I was one of an earlier boom and came in the late 90s. I was here for a couple of years. I went to Chicago for 5 years and then came back to Austin. And so I've been here for over 10 years now.
As far as Chicago is concerned, how would you describe, or did you ever get any sense of a community in Chicago that really valued its libraries? Now, I do know that the Chicago Public Library, is well known, and it has it's well known within the library world, and I know they have a really strong presence. But how did you experience it?
Honestly, I think I experienced it more as a tourist. I knew I wasn't going to be in Chicago forever. I really love the city. And I experienced it more as a tourist. I kind of went to the building. It was a beautiful old building. It's huge downtown in the middle of the Loop area where there's a lot of businesses. And I kind of went there just to take a look around. I really didn't utilize the library as a community kind of resource. Whereas here in Austin, I think that'll be definitely different because I live right next to it. So, and I've been watching it kind of build from the ground up and anticipating it.
I'm very taken by your description of a tourist, of describing yourself as a tourist. I'd never heard of that before, or thinking of the way that a library sort of serves its customers, serves its community. Do you think you'll always be a tourist of the library?
I don't think so. I think, again, when I was younger, of course, when I was in school, many, many, many years ago, I went to the library often. You studied there. It was one of those places, I think it was and I don't know how it is now, but, it was kind of a social place. You'd go, you'd study, you'd meet friends, you'd look for different things. It was more of a place to go on a regular basis. I think being older, you kind of forget about the library. You forget that it's a resource. And I think it's one of those things you kind of discover it again every now and then. You discover the library and the things that it has. So I think for me, it's more of a discovery kind of place. I think being closer in the new library, I'm really excited to see and discover what it's going to offer. In speaking with you and hearing that library, how it's going to be set up, and it's the library of the future, I'm really excited to see what does that mean. Actually tangible, walk in and see what that means. So I think, I'm hoping I'll be more of less of a tourist and more of a regular user of the library.
I'm glad to hear that one day, I guess you'll be less than a tourist. But when you think about it, I guess you can, I didn't ask you that question thinking that it was a bad thing to be a tourist. I think we can be a tourist about anything that matters to us in our lives. So, and one thing that I like to try to convey to customers is that a library with all its resources, all its information and books and DVDs and CDs, it can enable you to tour the world in a way. I think the term for that is the armchair traveler. For instance, the library has a databases that let you look at travel books and things like that, ebooks through the digital format. And so, for what it's worth, it's sometimes just as, I think, powerful and educating to be able to look at the world just from where you're at. This kind of segues into my next question. What is it about Austin Public Library that motivated you to support us as a social media ambassador?
I'm older, and I'm not a student, so I wanted to make sure that people who are in my demographic, my age range, are aware that the library can still be a great resource. Even if you don't have kids and even if you're not in school, it's still a great place to go. And like you were saying, with the kind of the closing of the bookstores used to be everywhere. And I think a lot of people utilize the bookstores, like you were saying, kind of the armchair traveler. You could go in, you could look at different books. A lot of them are closed. It's amazing to me that the printed page, it's hard to find. So I think with the library, a lot of people can realize that they can go in and exactly what you say, do the exact same things they used to do at the bookstores, peruse through all the travel books and look at different things and discover things. And so I wanted to make sure that, again, my demographic voice was heard. It's not just a place for kids. And I think a lot of times people think that. So I want to make sure they realize it's for everybody.
And I think that's what you're saying is on point, because I think that's kind of the motivation for the social media ambassadors program. That's why a social media ambassador like you is so important and to us, because you are in a position to promote the library, talk about the specific aspects of the library that are important to you and the way that it can really improve a person's life. You can do that just as simply as sharing a blog post or talking about a book you're reading or a movie you're watching that you checked out at the library, and just in whatever way you can to your friends and family and networks, just remind them that the library is there as a resource. So we really appreciate that any which way you do that, so thank you for that. So here's the last question. It's just a fill in the blank. And the blank is, my library is... How would you fill in that blank?
My library is new discoveries. I really think it's going to be I think this new library in Austin not only is going to be a great library, but I think it's going to be almost a community center. And I don't mean necessarily playing sports, but I mean people getting together and doing different things and meeting at the library. I'm really excited about it. And that's why I wanted to be involved. I'm very excited to be involved. And thank you very much for having me.
It's our pleasure. That's a great answer. That's all I have. Social Media Ambassador Teresa Saint, thank you so much, and until next time.